people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan and I bought a camera, so hopefully this is like the best quality video you have seen from me, but also bear with me for any technical difficulties, anything weird in this video, because I am just learning this thing. This is the very first thing I'm filming on it and the first time I'm using it. I didn't even do a test run, we're just going in, we're trying it for the first time. And what better way to do my June wrap up? So I read 11 books in the month of June and I had a really great reading month. I feel like I loved everything I read, so let's get into it because I have lots to talk about. The first book I read this month is Swan Song by Ellen Hilderbrand. This is what got me out of my reading slump because I love Ellen Hilderbrand, so I knew to get out of my reading slump I should start with one of my all-time favorite authors, and I love this author. She has written so many books and all her books take place in Nantucket, and she just creates these cast of characters. All her books are multi-POV and they're just really fun. They're very just like slice of life. You're there for the vibes, you're there for the drama. I feel like if you love reality TV, you would love like Ellen Hilderbrand novels. Not that anybody is like unhinged and throwing drinks at each other like a Bravo girl, but you know, it's just drama, right? You're just like there for the slice of life, the drama, and honestly these people that she creates, they feel like real people. Like when I go to Nantucket on my vacation, am I gonna run into these people? Because I feel like I will. This book was bittersweet to start because I really wanted to read it. It's her new release, but I was also really sad to read it because I thought this was going to be her last novel. I thought she was retiring, but that's not true. She is just retiring from writing her Nantucket stories. She is going to continue writing just with a different setting. I think in her interview she said that she is under contract for 2 more books, and those ones are going to take place in a New England boarding school, and we'll see what happens from there. I don't really care if it takes in Nantucket, Antarctica. I will be reading Ellen Hilderbrand's writing because again, like I'm reading, yes, for the vibes of Nantucket summer, but I'm mainly reading for the cast of characters that she creates, their relationships, their drama, and everything in between. So I think we should talk about what this book is about because this book actually has a really interesting premise to it. And in this one we have a mystery thriller element to it. So we have our main character Ed, who is retiring as the police chief, and on his last couple days on the job a girl goes missing and he's like, no, I can't retire. I need to take on this case and find this missing girl because she is friends with my daughter. And then we flash forward to the past and it's really just the beginning of summer and we find out who this missing girl is, and she was a nanny for a new family that moved on to the Nantucket, and they are like this mysterious family that everybody's like, how did they get their money? What is going on here? And then their nanny goes missing, so you're kind of just trying to piece it together what happened while also getting to know all these characters. Again, don't go into this thinking like, oh, mystery thriller or it's like anything like that, but just if you are an Ellen Hilderbrand lover and you also love mystery thrillers, I think this one is like a perfect blend for that. I really enjoyed it and I rated it 4 stars. I give it so much praise. There's nothing I can like say that there was wrong with it, why I would demote 1 star for it. It just did not give me a 5-star feeling like some of her other books had. And again, like I think the reason why she is retiring from her Nantucket stories is because it can all kind of blend together and feel the same. Not that that's a bad thing because I go to her for what I like, but it just feels like an Ellen Hilderbrand novel. So it's 4 stars, nothing groundbreaking in it, but I absolutely enjoyed my time reading it. And that's in contrast to the next book I read, and I'm so happy I didn't start off with this one to end my reading slump, and that is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. And I'm gonna do the cliche thing, I'm not in love with Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I just didn't really like this book at all. In this book, it gives you the synopsis, but then I was reading the reviews and people are saying like, oh, this book was marketed more as an erotica rather than a romance, and I was like, where was this marketed as an erotica rather than a romance? I guess I didn't look at the marketing for this book. All I saw is Ali Hazelwood, favorite romance author, let me read it. No, I did not enjoy this book. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the female main lead. I didn't like the male main lead. I actually really disliked the male main lead. He is probably one of my least favorite love interests in a book ever. Like I just did not like him. If you read his POV, it's literally all his thoughts about her all just purely physical. I feel like there's not much about like the emotional connection between them. Anytime he thinks about her, he thinks about like her physicality or like their physical connection with each other. He just thinks, and the way that he talks about her to some of his guy friends literally makes me want to throw up, and I just did not like him at all. I did not think this book was sweet or romantic. They hook up the entire book, and like that means nothing. Like that doesn't do anything in a story for me if the characters do not have an emotional connection and if I do not believe in the relationship, and the whole relationship is based off a physical connection, and the emotional connection, can't find it. Where is it? Don't see it because it's not there. It doesn't exist. I rated this 2.5 stars, being generous because I do love Ali Hazelwood, so that was generous. It's really like a 2-star book to me. I didn't even like the plot. So in this plot you're following our main character, don't remember her name, but she works for this company and they took out a loan, and then this other company bought the loan that they have out, and they can't pay back the loan, so this other loan, the company that bought the loan is trying to like take over their company. I don't know, that's confusing. I don't want to talk about loans, mortgages, and finances in a romance novel. Like, what is that? No, I don't like it. If you want to read the new Ali Hazelwood novel because you love Ali Hazelwood, do it from your library so you have no money invested into it. And then the next book I read, which I don't have a copy of, I borrowed the ebook from my library. I was so excited because I was first in line to get my hands on this ebook. I was the first to borrow it. No waiting time required. I got to read Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is his latest release. I love Riley Sager. I was really tempted to purchase this book physically, but I wanted to read the book first before I went out and did that because we're trying to curb my book buying spending habits. And I'm glad I did. Although I really enjoyed this book, I rated it 4 stars. I thought the twist in the book was a little bit lackluster. Like, the twist was just like, it made sense, but to me it wasn't shocking. I kind of predicted the whodunit kind of like early on in the book. There was one line specifically that really made me key into this person. But that's okay. I don't care if I predict something because I'm the person, I'm reading the mystery thriller to predict things. I'm looking for the clues, I'm playing detective. I'm like, who did it? Oh, there's this clue, like, you know, so that doesn't do anything for me. So like, to me, predicting it doesn't like ruin the book for me, but I just thought it was like a little bit of a boring explanation for all this really cool buildup in the book. I just thought the explanation was a little bit boring for what happened and why it happened. But I guess I should give you the premise of this book. So in this book, you're following our main character, Ethan, and when he was 10 years old, him and his best friend Billy decided to camp out in their backyard in their safe little cul-de-sac neighborhood where nothing bad ever happens. But when Ethan wakes up, there is a slash in the tent and Billy is gone. Ethan has no idea what happened to Billy and who took him because he was sound asleep the entire time. Now we're following Ethan 30 years later. His parents have moved out of the house, so he moves back into the house while he is preparing to sell it. And while he's there, a couple other of his childhood friends from back in the day are also living on that cul-de-sac neighborhood. And I really loved this book because I thought it was so interesting. Like, the way Riley Sager writes his mystery thrillers, like every chapter makes you want to read more. Like, this book, I binged this book. I think I read it in like 2 days because at the end of every chapter he would leave you with a little bit of a cliffhanger that made you want to go to the next chapter. And so you're just trying to figure out who's done this, and there's so many great contenders for who could possibly do it. Everybody, I feel like, has a motive. Not that he like accuses everybody, but you could kind of see a motive, I feel, for everything, and I just really liked it. Also, I love that we're kind of like dabbling into like paranormal stuff. We're dabbling into like secret societies and cults. Like, I love all that stuff in a book, so I just thought this kind of had all the elements I like. We have paranormal, we have a secret society with like some cult elements to it where it's just very mysterious, no one knows what's going on. We have a quiet small town neighborhood, and there's not a huge cast of characters, so you could kind of realistically see how, obviously, you know, a character in the book is who did it, right? And if there's not a huge cast of characters, you start brainstorming, okay, why would this person do it? Why would this person do it? Who really has the motive? And yeah, so I really liked it. Although I found the explanation to be a bit boring, I really liked the overall thing. If you came out of The Only One Left and you loved how many twists and turns there were in that book, I don't think you would enjoy this book as much because this book isn't like super like twisty like some of his other books are. It's like twist after twist, shock, shock, like The House Across the Lake, right? The twist in that book, like, this doesn't compare to that at all, but it was still a really enjoyable time because I can enjoy a mystery thriller without necessarily enjoying the twist at the end. Like Geneva Rose, The Perfect Marriage, or I think that was the name of the book. I loved that book. I binge read it. It was so amazing. I couldn't put it down. The twist at the end I didn't really love, but it didn't make me have a negative view on the book because I enjoyed the journey getting to the twist. So there's that, Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. The next book I read is Heartstopper Volume 5 by Alice Oseman. I love Heartstopper. I love the whole series. I think this story is just absolutely amazing. It's so cute, it's so sweet, and it just like warms your heart when you read these books. So in this book, we're following Nick and Charlie, the continuation on of their relationship, and we're tackling 2 important topics in this book. We're tackling the topic of Nick kind of going away for college because he is a year older than Charlie, and what that means for their relationship. Should he stay close by him? Should he go off and do his own thing? And then we're also seeing them kind of like progress physically in their relationship and kind of like dealing with their insecurities and trying to like move forward in their relationship. And yeah, I just thought it was like very sweet, and I think these books are perfect for kids in high school because like I don't know, like when my kids are in high school, I feel like I'm gonna force them to read the Heartstopper series because I just think it touches on so many important topics in a really great way for teenagers, and even as an adult you can read them and love them and it can warm your heart. And I just love Heartstopper, and I will never not recommend this to somebody who wants to get into graphic novels or just wants a cute little heartwarming story that's going to take them like an hour to read. The next book I read, I don't own a physical copy of yet. I'm definitely gonna go buy one, but that is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I bought the book from Audible because I was like, you know what? Yes, do I want to go buy a physical copy of it? Of course I do, but I always listen to her books via audio. So I was like, let me listen to the audiobook. If you rate it 5 stars, then you can go get the physical book. And guess what? Spoiler alert, I did rate it 5 stars. Funny Story by Emily Henry, I absolutely loved, and I have a very weird pattern with Emily Henry books. So if you look at her book, basically every other one I rate 5 stars. Beach read, loved. People want to meet on vacation, didn't love as much. Book lovers, love. Happy Place, didn't love so much. And now we're at Funny Story, absolutely love it. So every other book just seems to be a 5-star read for me. So next year I don't have a lot of hope, but the year after that, 2026, probably going to be another 5-star. In this book, you are following Daphne and Miles, and they are roommates. This is a little bit of a roommate romance, but it is a funny story how they are roommates. So Daphne was engaged to this man named Peter, and Peter's childhood best friend is a girl named Petra, and she is also in his wedding party because Peter and Daphne are engaged. He goes away on his bachelor party with Petra where she confesses that she's been in love with him her whole life, and he's like, oh my god, I just realized I've also been in love with you my whole life. So then he goes home, he's like, so Daphne, we are calling off the engagement because I'm in love with Petra. So Daphne's like, I'm in this small town where I know absolutely nobody. I'm only here because of you. I have nowhere to live. And she ends up moving in with Miles, who is Petra's ex-boyfriend. Daphne and Miles kind of keep to themselves, don't really interact much until one day a wedding invitation arrives at their house. Peter and Petra have cordially invited them to their wedding. And they're like, wait, they're getting married? And also, why are they inviting us? So they're like, you know what? They're probably just inviting us to be nice, but let's stick it to them. Let's RSVP, and we're not just gonna RSVP, we're gonna RSVP as a couple because we're dating and we're in love and we need to stick it to them. So now we have a roommate romance and we also have fake dating in there. So like everything that I love is coming together. I love fake dating, I love roommate romance, and then, you know, fake dating falls into actual dating, we're in love, and it's just so cute, so nice. I absolutely loved it. Also, another thing I really loved about this book is Daphne has moved to this town where she doesn't have a lot of friends, and just in general in life, she's not one to make a lot of friends because she's always been on the move. In this book, we're also following her journey making a best friend, which I absolutely love because it is hard as an adult, especially when you're out of college, to make new friends and put yourself out there and meet new people and gain kind of like a new best friend in adulthood. I love that this book kind of tackled that, and we could see her not only gaining like a boyfriend, but also kind of gaining a relationship and a female best friendship, which we just love to see in books because I feel like in so many romance books they have their best friends already built in, which is not always realistic. So I just love that we got to see her kind of form this friendship with her best friend, who I just keep referring to as best friend because I totally forgot her name because outside of the 2 main leads, I am really bad at names. So that is Funny Story. I rated it 5 stars. It was absolutely amazing. I love this Emily Henry book. I think my tier list would go so far: book lovers, beach read, Funny Story. Although we need to do a reread of beach read because like I feel like they could be pretty equal. So that's that, and on to the next one. The next book I read was also a 5-star read, which is no surprise because it is by another one of my favorite romance authors, and that is Abby Jimenez. So we have Just for the Summer. This is the latest book in her last little series. So it started with Part of Your World and then Yours Truly, and now we have Just for the Summer. They're interconnected standalones. You don't have to read the other ones to read this one, but Abby Jimenez loves to put little Easter eggs in her romance books. So if you have read her past books and you actually like remember them, there's a lot of Easter eggs in here. She did a author interview at the end of the audiobook and she was kind of pointing out some of the Easter eggs, and as somebody who has read her previous work, there are ones that went over my head because I have such a bad memory when it comes to the fine details. But if you were to binge them back to back to back, I feel like it could be a really good time. Anyways, we have Just for the Summer, and I have to remind myself of the characters' names. We have Emma and Justin. And so we have Emma and Justin. Justin posts this Reddit thread, and it's basically on their Reddit page, Am I the Asshole? Which I actually love to read Am I the Asshole posts, so I actually really related to this one. So we have him posting this thing on Am I the Asshole? And in this thing, he's talking about how he has this curse. Some might call it a gift, some might call it a curse, where every woman that he dates, when they break up, go on to find their soulmate. So he dates them, they break up, within 6 months, they're engaged and in love. And so he has this, it goes viral, and Emma sees it and she's like, oh my god, I have the same exact thing. Every guy that breaks up with me ends up going on to find their wife, their soulmate. So they reach out to each other and they start talking just like over the internet, and Emma is a traveling nurse, and he convinces her to make her next pit stop where he lives in Minnesota, Montana, Minnesota. It starts with an M. Where do they live? Oh my god, this is so bad. Minnesota? It starts with an M. It could be Michigan. I don't know. It's in the area, okay? It's in the area, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana. That's it. It's an M. It's an M state, okay? So she goes there, which she doesn't want to do because it's cold, but she's going during the summertime. So she's like, okay, I'll just be here just for the summer. And it's about them kind of going on 4 dates because they have this plan. Hey, let's date each other. Let's break up. And when we break up, we're bound to find our soulmates, right? Because our curses or our gifts will work on each other. So it's about their relationship. And then we also get into the dynamics of their family. Emma, she has a strained relationship with her mother who appears back in her life during this book. And then also Justin is going through a hard time with his family and he's getting custody of his siblings because his mom is going to jail. I love the real life drama in this book outside of the romance, like with their families, and I love their relationship as well. And as usual, Abby Jimenez just writes these characters that are like emotionally mature and they know how to speak and like vocalize their feelings and talk like adults, and nothing is toxic. Although Emma, she does have a lot of childhood trauma, which leads her to not dealing with conflict in the most healthy ways in her relationships. It's something that she recognizes and something that they like talk about going to therapy for. So it's like, it's handled very well. I feel like this book is a really great representation of a just like a normal, healthy, emotionally mature relationship, even if you don't have the best tools for dealing with conflict or you have some issues, because none of us are perfect. It talks about like in a real sense, like how can you deal with those things in a healthy and mature way so that everybody is happy. And I love this book. I love this book because I feel like there's so many romances that just like glorify toxic behavior, and those can be really fun to read, but like I just also love a good romance with a really great emotional connection between the characters and also just emotional maturity, emotional intelligence, emotional maturity. We love to see it on top of the emotional connection. So this I rated 5 stars, absolutely loved it. And I cannot wait to read more by Abby Jimenez. I always wait for her latest releases, but I really just need to go back this year and read her backlog because I'm sure I will not be disappointed. The next book I read on my Kindle, and that is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I have been dying to read a T. Kingfisher book for the longest time because I feel like she is a horror author that everybody talks about, and also her books aren't that long. This book was only like 150 pages, at least on my Kindle it was. So they're pretty short, and I don't know what inspired me. I just decided to do it. I think after the Riley Sager book, I was craving kind of more like paranormal inspired type of things. I was just in the mood for a mystery thriller, although this was a horror book. Anyways, so I went and read this one and it was okay. I don't remember what I rated it. I think I rated it 3.5 stars. It's really short, so it's really hard to like get super invested into characters when they're short. Like I always struggle with that in novellas. It's really hard for me to get attached to characters and kind of, I don't know, just like care when it's so short. It's not that I don't care, but I'm just like, okay, that's done. What was the point of that? This story is a retelling of an Edgar Allan Poe story, The Fallen House of Usher, I think that's the name of it. Following our main character who is a soldier, and I'm going to use they them pronouns because I believe our character is non-binary. So they go because they have been summoned to the house of their childhood best friend because she has fallen ill. So our soldier goes, I forgot their name, but they go to this house and they just like see all these weird things happening, and the illness that their friend has is very strange as well. So they're just kind of trying to figure everything out together. And yeah, it's just spooky. It's very atmospheric. There's not much I could say about the plot. It's just very atmospheric. It was okay. Like, what was the point? I don't know, but I didn't hate it either. It was okay. It was 3.5 stars, and I'm gonna read more by T. Kingfisher, but maybe this one just wasn't the right one for me. Not that it was bad, but I was just like, what was the point? I don't get it. But anyway, 3.5 stars, moving on with my life. There is a second one in this series. I don't think I'm gonna read it, but never say never. But the book I read after that restored all hope in reading for me because I absolutely loved and devoured this book, and that is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Oh my god, this book was absolutely amazing. I rated it 5 stars. No wonder this is like the most read fiction book of the year so far. I just love this book. This book, I could not put it down. I read it in 24 hours. I think I read it in 2 sittings because I was just so drawn into this book and I just needed to know what was gonna happen next. This isn't a mystery thriller where it's like, oh my god, cliffhanger at the end of every chapter, but it's just, there's something so compelling and there's so readable about this book that you just want to binge it. So we're following our main character June, and she is frenemies with Athena. Like, they're friends, but she has like all this secret jealousy of her, so I call them frenemies. So she is frenemies with Athena, and Athena is a very accomplished writer, and she happens to be Asian, and June is white. And June decides when Athena dies to steal her manuscript for her unpublished novel and pass it off as her own, and then she changes her name to Juniper Song, so she writes under a pen name to kind of come off more racially ambiguous, takes photos with the lighting. There could be a different cast to her skin to maybe imply that she is a different race than she is. And the book is based off World War I and these Chinese laborers, a forgotten part of history. First, this book focuses on the publishing industry, seeing the publishing process, which I thought was really interesting. But then we get into the conversation of like cultural appropriation, people calling June out for like changing her name, because it's not like she is like hiding and she's like, you know, people know that she's white, so there's like a whole controversy over that. We talk about cancel culture in this book, and in the end of this book it's very mystery thriller-esque and chaotic. So there's so many elements to this book I absolutely loved, and I just thought it was funny. I was just engaged the whole time. I just love reading from the POV of a delusional, unhinged main character, right? Like, I don't agree with any of her actions, I don't agree with her thoughts, but I just love reading from the villain's point of view, because like, you're reading from her point of view, right? So she's gonna victimize herself in situations, but she's clearly like the villain of the story, right? Like, if you could read this book from a different character's POV, this girl that we're reading from, like, June is so obviously the villain, but you're reading from her POV and she's victimizing herself, and like, that's what's just so comical about it. And so yeah, I just love a delusional, unhinged main character. Not that like I love her, but like, it's entertaining, you know what I mean? So I just devoured this book and I rated it 5 stars. After that, I read another book in 24 hours and I could not put this book down. And when I say read in 24 hours, I can easily do that with an audiobook, but I physically read these books, so you know, for some people that might not be an accomplishment. For me it is, and that is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I am finally starting the Naturals series. Last year I did like this series where I explained the plot to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and now I'm going to be doing it with the Naturals series, and I just really love this one. So in this book we're following our main character Cassie, and she is working at a diner. She's living with her family because her mother has disappeared, presumed dead because there was a lot of blood at the crime scene, but no one has found her body. And then we hear and her dad is working in the Air Force, so she lives with her grandparents working at this diner, just kind of like living a normal life. But she has this uncanny ability to read people, which she attributes to her mother kind of training her to do this, because her mother was a person who pretended to be psychic, but really she just read people's behavior and kind of played off of that. So she just kind of attributes that she can like read people because her mother taught her to, but she can't just read people because her mother taught her to. She can do it because she is a natural, and she catches the attention of the FBI and they bring her into their Naturals program, where this is a group of teenagers that try to crack cold cases that the FBI can't crack. So they all have a natural ability for something. So somebody is a natural emotional reader, somebody else is a natural deceitful person, like they can lie very naturally, and they can also catch people in lies very easily. We're following her as she's kind of learning how to hone in on her natural abilities, living with these other natural teenagers, and the 2 FBI people who run this house. There is an active case going on that these kids want to be a part of, but the FBI is like, absolutely not. You can't be a part of any active cases, only cold cases only. But then the killer involves them in the case. So this book is so good. It's 300 pages. It is so easy to read. It is so short, easy breezy, and oh my god, it is just compulsively readable. That's what I'll say. Compulsively readable. The next book I read was Wildfire by Hannah Grace. Although I have the physical copy of the book, I actually ended up listening to it on audio, and it took me a long time to listen to this audiobook. It took me like a week to listen to it, which is long for me. Usually audiobooks I can binge in a day or 2 days. So in this book you're following our 2 main characters, Russ and Aurora. Russ is a hockey player and Aurora is, her dad owns an F1 team and she has a lot of drama with that, but they are camp counselors. But before they arrive at camp, they have a one-night stand with each other back at college, and then the next day when they go to camp, they're like, oh, that one-night stand, oh, you're here, and we're both camp counselors. And then they have this attraction for each other, but there's a no fraternization policy at the camp, so they can't do anything about it. And honestly, I thought this book was just nice. It was nice. I rated it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was just really easy to listen to. It was fun. I really liked the main characters. I did go on Goodreads and kind of look at the reviews of this book, and I don't know why I always look at negative reviews. Even if I love a book, I'm like, what are the haters saying? I want to know. And things that people didn't like about this book, I like agree with it, but they didn't bother me. Like, one person was like, there is no plot to this book. Okay, yeah, fair. There's not a plot to this book. I mean, it's kind of just very slice of life, right? You're just following the build up to their relationship and like, you know, all that. So yeah, there's not really a plot, but it didn't bother me because I enjoyed listening to it. And then another thing people were criticizing was some of the sentences that Hannah Grace constructs. And you know, when you're listening to something and you're working versus like reading it and really soaking in every word, you know, I don't notice that stuff as much when I'm listening to it via audio. If I was reading it, would her sentences and the basicness of her sentences bothered me as much. I don't know, but listening to it on audio while working, it didn't bother me. I think I'm just gonna continue on my audio journey for Hannah Grace. Icebreaker, which I have right here, listened to on audio, had a good time. Listened to this on audio, had a good time. I will say though, the one thing I really did like about this book, because there was this like no fraternization policy at the camp, there wasn't a lot of smut in the majority of the book, which I've learned that I like that. I don't love when it's a very smut heavy book. I love when it's a very like emotional connection between the characters, but then it felt like towards the end of the book, once they left camp, it's like they're trying to make up for all the smut that they missed in the middle of the book, so they're jamming it all in at the end. So at the end I was just kind of like, okay, I didn't love that as much, but overall really enjoyed it, and I rated it 4 stars. And my camera's about to die, but the very last book that I read for this month is Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang. Now I actually started reading this book back in January, but I finished this book in June, yeah, like literally the last 2 days of June I finished this book, so I had been reading this book for 6 months. Blood Over Bright Haven is a popular fantasy book. It's on Kindle Unlimited, but it became so popular that they're actually going to be publishing it, and the physical edition that I have seen on Barnes & Noble's website looks absolutely stunning with sprayed edges. This book was really good. I liked it. It's a very high fantasy book. We're following Siona, and she is the first woman to become a high mage. So she is the first woman to become a high mage in this society. And outside of the society, there is this like other realm where they have these random attacks happen of this like lightning basically strikes down and kills people. So all these like people who come in, who they call the Quen, which are kind of like immigrants to this like society, they come in to kind of like seek refuge from this blight. And so it's about them, the Quen, in this society and the way that they are treated and how they are treated as second-class citizens. It talks about a lot of sexism because Siona is the first woman to work in the high magistry, and also I thought the magic system was really cool. And yeah, so there's just like a lot of important conversations going on in this book. A lot of it is very heavy-handed. I'm someone who doesn't really notice stuff, but like this is very heavy-handed, but that's not to say it's a bad thing. Or making us think about something, right? Something that is making us think about stuff that I'm just not smart enough to really verbalize and talk about and articulate, but I got it, okay? And yeah, I don't know, I liked it. I can't really elaborate on it. I found it, this book has so many great ratings, so please don't listen to me because I rated it 3.5 stars, not because I disliked it, but I honestly found it a little bit boring. The first chapter starts out with a bang, it's super action-packed, but after that the pacing is kind of slow, and I just got a little bored reading it, and it took me 6 months to read. So 3.5 stars. Like overall I like the story, but like the actual act of reading the book I found to be boring. So that's that. 3.5 stars. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
It was a long time from where we started, day to day. I had these feelings